Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, folks. How are you doing? It's Danny Tisdale, and of course, you're listening to the Danny Tisdale Show on another wonderful, fabulous, incredible Saturday. I am so glad that you've taken time out of your day, whether you're listening to the show right now or you've got it bookmarked to listen to later, you're going to listen to it on your phone as you're traveling, whatever you're doing, and however you're listening to us. Thank you and welcome. We've got a great guest on the show today, as we do every show that we do. But, I'll leave you on the lurch a little bit and not tell you exactly who that's going to be yet, but it's going to be a great conversation. And, as I usually do, I want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the world of Harlem, especially Harlem's world. Check out the site Harlem World Mag, as I always want you to do, and check out and see what's trending, especially when what seems to be trending now is the New York City Restaurant Week, let's say, banner. And, it's one of those things where we used to call Harlem Week, W-E-E-K. And so now Restaurant Week, and with Harlem Week, it's now a month. And here we have the same thing happening with Restaurant Week. It looks like it's about 2 weeks long. It started January 22nd and goes until February 9th. That's success. So we love it. Let Us See is celebrating Nina Simone at Harlem Stage. And I think since Bruno Mars was on TV yesterday, a repeat of the Apollo, Bruno Mars at the Apollo, that post of him at the Apollo is trending on the site. Of course, we had exclusive photos of him performing, so you have to check that out. Well, there's more. I can go on forever, but I don't want to overlap this conversation with the conversation with our guest that's coming up. But before I get to our guest, don't forget to check us out on Twitter at twitter.com/HWMag, also on Facebook at facebook.com/HWMag, and also Facebook at Harlem World Magazine. And, of course, the website at Harlem World Mag. And, we try to get the best folks to interview on the show, whether leaders, legends, and trailblazers, whoever they may be. And we have one today, and it is Leanne Stella. She is part of a Halstead real estate team duo. Bear with me on the name here. I'm having trouble. Gastiaburo and Stella. I know I'm destroying his name. I'm going to ask Leanne if I get it right and ask her to pronounce it for me. Buying and selling homes in Harlem. For her life as a real estate agent, she had a long career producing arts and cultural events across the city. She produced some of the largest art and antiques fairs on the East Coast in the 90s, and in the early 2000s, she was president of Stella Show Management Company, operator of the Triple Pier Antiques Show. She is founder of Art In FLUX, a great arts organization that does arts initiatives in Harlem. She is deeply invested in the neighborhood where she lives and works, and that's in Harlem. So today we will talk to Leanne about her amazing work and all the other things that she's doing. How are you doing, Leanne?
Great. Thank you, Danny. Thanks for having me on today.
Thank you. And you know what? I know we talked before the show, and I got it wrong. And here I am talking during the show about Gastiaburo, and I think I still got it wrong. Am I pronouncing it wrong or right?
Oh, you're doing fine. It's Gastiaburo and Stella is our team, yes. And my partner is Karen Gastiaburo, also
thank you.
Someone, passionate about this neighborhood.
And that's great, and that's what we love. And I'm wiping my forehead after trying to pronounce that name I don't know how many times. So I intend to get it right, though. So I just, want to let our readers know, too, that we just posted the real estate report that your team put out, along with, obviously, Halstead. Can you tell us a little bit about the report and what its focus is?
Sure. So the report you're referencing is our quarterly market report. And this particular report gives you an overview of the real estate market in Manhattan, all across Manhattan. So we're fortunate at Halstead to have a chief economist on our staff, Gregory Heim, and his primary responsibility is analyzing the markets and providing highly accurate and current reports that support us as agents and provide information to help us educate the consumer.
And that's fantastic because that certainly gives us, both on the commercial side, Harlem World Magazine, and in the individual side, individuals who live in Harlem and, of course, outside of Harlem, a great overview. But how, Leanne, is the uptown market being affected by way of the report?
Sure, that's a good question. So this report is giving an overview for the final quarter, as we said, across Manhattan, and that's final quarter of 2017. And although it shows that there was a dip in sales prices across Manhattan, Harlem continues to have record-breaking sales. We've had a number of them right out of our Halstead Harlem office. And the growth rate in Harlem is surpassing the growth rate in the rest of Manhattan.
Amazing.
It is. Property Shark, which is a highly respected resource in the real estate industry, you may be familiar, quotes that the average yearly growth of rate in Harlem has been 15% and continues in that direction compared to the rest of Manhattan, which is about 5%. So what we face in Harlem. Oh, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Oh no, I was just going to ask a question that you may have been going there anyway. Why is that?
Well, what we do face in Harlem is a lack of inventory. So that's part of the part of what balances that out. That's something we're always dealing with. And Harlem is a great place to live. And I think people are discovering that.
I can't even argue with you on that.
I have to say I can never stop talking about how much I love this neighborhood. It's been my favorite neighborhood to live in of anywhere, and like many people, I've lived in a number of different states, a number of different neighborhoods in New York. And, the sense of community that you get here is amazing.
Right.
The transportation, you can't beat it anywhere else in Manhattan. We can be in Midtown in 20 minutes. We can be at the airport in 20 minutes. But I think it's that sense of community. But it is, people stay in Harlem a long time, though, too. There's very well, there's a lot of people that have lived here for a very long time, and then people that come in fall in love with it and stay a long time as well, and it continues to then build that sense of community.
Well, and I saw something, Leanne, that spoke to that, and was that the resale value? That the resale value is the smallest in Manhattan, in Harlem. Is that the reason? Is that people stay in Harlem? They aren't selling their homes as much as other residents in Manhattan? Yes,
that would speak to our lack of inventory in Upper Manhattan. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Where some other neighborhoods are much more transient. People stay for a shorter amount of time. They, a year or two at a job, and then they move out of town with a family. But this is a great place to raise a family, too. We have so many parks.
Exactly, and they're doing a great job of doing a remix and remashup of some of the parks to bring them back to their glory. So there's really some great quality of life things going on in the community that help people to stay there also.
And then there's, something that's very important to me is that there's it's a very big arts community, and very important to the people that live here, that the arts thrive.
But Leanne, you're beating me to the punch on all my questions here, and
sorry about that.
And that's all right. I'm just kidding with you. And I wanted to ask you about your own transition in a way, because it seems like you had a healthy art career, and now you're having a healthy art and real estate career. What happened there to kind of transition you into merging, real estate with art, or if they are merged, but to kind of bring real estate into the work that you're doing? What happened there?
Sure, it's a good question, and one I enjoy talking about. Sorry, let me just start again. So first of all, Karen and I, our team commits a percent of our commissions to public art uptown. And the reason being, as starting an arts organization in Harlem, supporting artists in this community is very important to me. I want artists to be able to live and work here. It's what makes New York unique, and it's one way I can contribute to my community and making sure that that's something that's maintained here. Real estate has also always kind of been something I've been involved with, buying and selling some homes and properties of my own. So it wasn't new to me. And then with my work in the arts, I was working with a lot of real estate professionals, whether they were property owners, real estate agents, developers. And I realized that by really being in the industry myself, I could have a bigger effect on what I was bringing to artists. And I'm seeing that effect already. And, Halstead is one of the partners that has actually acquired work by Uptown artists, and they're in the permanent collection now. We're showing work in the Harlem office.
I didn't know that. That's fantastic.
Yeah. They worked with an Uptown artist to paint a mural on the outside of one of their offices where they have those roll-down gates. So now it's painted with a mural on it. I've worked with a number of the developers that we do business with, and they've commissioned murals or paintings for the lobbies by artists from within this community, and that's a really important thing. We've heard stories of some developers. The word might be taking advantage of artists, but what we're seeing here is that there's developers that are willing to support the artist.
Well, and I just want our listeners, and when they read it on the website, our readers to understand that both you and your partner and Halstead puts money where your mouth is. And I don't know if the listeners really heard you mention that you have a percent for art real estate team, and you take what you do seriously, and we love that as a artist myself, and I'm sure for our artists that are listening out there. And if some of our listeners don't know the Percent for Art program that the city Leanne, does the city still have that program, the Percent for Art program, where a percent of the money, I think it's 1% of the money goes to the arts?
Yes, they do. And we're kind of mimicking that, idea, and also trying to allocate funds towards Upper Manhattan. Because what we've seen is we just want to see more funding come to the arts in Upper Manhattan. In previous years, it may have been a little ignored, and so that's why we kind of put our efforts into that.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh, and sorry, I know I've kind of gotten us off track onto this focus. Okay.
No, we're okay, but I do want to let our listeners know again that we just posted the real estate report for the fourth quarter from Stella and her partner, Miss Gastiaburo, who's part of the Halstead team. And you can check it out, listeners and readers, for yourself and get the lowdown on what's happened that last quarter of 2017 in Manhattan, and drill down a bit and check out what's happened and what is happening in Harlem. And we want our listeners to know that they're listening to the Danny Tisdale Show, and of course it's me, Danny Tisdale. and it's part of Harlem World Magazine, of course, the #1 magazine in the world for all things Harlem since 2003. Yes, this year is our 15th year anniversary. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But more importantly, we're going to get right back to Leanne Stella and have her talk about the report and all the other things that she's doing. And I wanted to ask you, Leanne, any inside tips for sellers, investors, or buyers on what they should be looking or how they could use the report to do some of the work that they do or research?
Yeah, I think key is kind of keeping your eye on these kind of reports on a regular basis so that you're informed of the market as well. And, of course, you want to come to experienced agents and have their guidance and whoever you're working with. Hopefully it's the Gastiaburo and Stella team, but whoever you're working with,
yes.
that they're helping you find these kinds of resources. But if you're starting to get interested, you want to keep up on these things. So, you can sign up on our mailing list for something like that, and we can send it to you. The particular report we send out every quarter. It's available just after the quarter ends. And we also, our chief economist prepares these for all the major regions where Halstead has a concentration of offices, including Brooklyn, the Hamptons, Connecticut, and New Jersey. But you kind of asked me some other tips. I mean, one of the things I think we get from this report is that for Manhattan continues to be a good investment. And we've talked about it, outpacing the other markets.
Right, because of the inventory.
Right. Yeah. And if you're going to hold on to your property for a number of years, 5 or better yet, 10 years, or, I think it's a great place to live forever, but that's when you're going to see the real gain in value in your property.
Yeah, that was my next question, because I know Warren Buffett always talks about, investing for the long term, stay in the market, long term, has nothing to do with trends. So in a sense, that's kind of what you're saying. Do I paraphrase that correctly, or okay?
Yeah, and I think, we've seen, if you look at 10-year marks in Manhattan, you're even during downturns, if you're holding onto your property for 10 years, across the span, you're always seeing increases in value in Manhattan real estate.
Wow. Well, I wanted to ask you, Leanne, of course, as I mentioned to you, time will fly by, and here I have all these questions that I didn't prepare you for. But, let's say that there's an artist who has a little bit of money. What would you suggest if he or she wanted to, let's say, diversify their portfolio? What would be a good way to enter the real estate market if you got a smidgen of money?
Yeah, so it's interesting that you asked that, because we are actually preparing to do a first-time home buyers series of workshops, and that is focused, some of it for me is focused towards my network of artists. So that's coming up in March. So if anybody's interested in joining us for that, they can contact us and we'll add them. And we'll be doing a tour of some apartments in that same workshop. We're going to host one at a new
and you're going to send us something so that we can post that, correct?
Yeah, I'll do that. Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
And I think,
I
think some people are just miffed or afraid they might not be able to make that jump. And it's worth taking the steps to find out. So you want to meet with a mortgage broker. It doesn't cost you anything. And they'll help you find out where you stand right now and then what you need to do to get there. And then we're also going to be working with someone who helps you improve your credit score. So that's, one of the steps. So, we're actually 2 of our first speakers are a mortgage broker and a credit repair person. And those are kind of some of the beginning steps, and it's worth taking them because there's like there's no pain.
That's right.
You know,
especially if you do it smart and prepare the way that you're talking about preparing. You know.
Yeah.
You can make an educated decision. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And I think, you know, there still are small apartments and opportunities to invest without too much money, you know, still in Harlem. And there's the Bronx as well, there's some fast and furious neighborhoods expanding. And, you know, they're right there. And I think it's worth investing the time to find out. And, you know, we can all do it with those steps.
No, I think you're right on track with that. And I would love to do another podcast with you right before that March series starts, just to, you know, get the word out to our listeners who, you know, obviously a large part of our audience is the arts community. Maybe it's not obvious, but, you know, if your schedule's open, I'd love to have you back on and, you know, talk about that so that our readers can take advantage of it.
Yeah, that would be terrific. I'd love that. Thank you.
Fabulous. Now, I have let's see, let me look at the clock here. Boy, we have 9 minutes left. And I just have this is a tough question, Leanne, and it's another question that I did not prepare you for. So you can pass and say that you respond at another time, or, you know, say that there's no answer. But, you know, I had a long conversation with a gentleman, John Malfeed, and he is an artist who does work with the homeless. And we always go back and forth regarding space for the homeless, and especially as those rates increase. Is there anything we can do to help the homeless who need shelter? You know, I went to Vancouver, Washington, and they have these little mini, I think they're calling it mini homes that they have for the homeless. Is there any way that we could do anything on the real estate side, or am I just, you know,
no, you know,
thinking outside the box, and that box doesn't exist?
Yeah, no, I don't think anything doesn't exist, and I think you did give me a tough question, but
yeah, no one's been able to answer it so far. So
right, it's not an
I know it's tough.
one.
Yeah,
it's not an easy one solved. But I think that we need to be cognizant of that working in this industry, and you know, I also feel that, and this is kind of a personal response, I feel if you're going to be in a neighborhood, you need to be engaged in the community and figure out what it is you can do to contribute. For me, I particularly chose artists and the arts because we can't all be experts in every area. And so what you just asked me is not particularly my area that I've searched for the solution. Right. But I think that it's extremely important to be considering all of these things when we're working in this industry.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and I know that, you know, I didn't prep you for it, but it was you know, something I think about all the time. And one thing that we're trying to do, one of many, is, you know, how else can we support the community where we work and live? And, you know, I see our neighbors who don't have homes all the time, and it's just, you know, something that crosses my mind. So I just thought I'd ask you, you know, your thoughts on that, and I appreciate that.
Right. And I think, you know, I'm actually, from the art angle, I happen to be working with one developer who, and it's a Halstead listing, who has just built a 70-30 building, 70% of the building of which is affordable. So again, you know, there are solutions. They're not easy, and there are some of our politicians right now that are really working actively in trying to find this balance. Adrian Espiat, I think, is particularly working on that in the, Washington Heights area. And I think, I have a lot of interest in this because even different types of housing and structures all intrigues me. So there are things, and it's important to have a city that has a variety of economic levels living together. Even when you look at it on a basic level of, what part of the population is doing what work and serving this and serving that. You can't be have only one economic level, and then there's not different people for different jobs.
Right. Yeah.
You threw a tough one at me.
Yeah, I know. I know, and it wasn't fair, and I know that this is one of those topics that almost deserves its own, podcast.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to. I know in doing the little research that I've done. Well, I've done quite a bit of research to talk to you and looking at the report, and I know that. You kind of think outside the box, and that's why I said, well, let me just ask her and see what she thought. And I thought your answer was what I kind of expected, which is to, be open and, see what the possibilities are and then move forward. And I like that approach. And, again, I just want our listeners and readers to know that we have posted the report with a link to the report on the website. But, Leanne, I wanted to ask you, I think we're down to our last 3 or 4 minutes. Do you have any contact information, for our listeners who want to find out more about the work that you're doing at Halstead and in other places? Yeah.
So the Halstead website is halstead.com, and it's easy to find me and my partner just by plugging in Stella in the search bar right at the top, and then I'll come up as Leanne Stella or Gastiaburo and Stella, our team, and I'm also on Facebook and Twitter as Leanne Stella, and it's Leanne Stella, which is the easy
fantastic.
Part.
And we'll do two. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention, I noticed, you said you were talking to an artist, and I think that's one of the really interesting things is how artists help remind us of all these important topics that affect what we're doing.
I'm going to throw out my next question that I had for you. And back up a second. What inspired you to have this love for the arts? And Leanne, we've got just 3 minutes left.
Yeah, so being around it my whole life, and I grew up in a family business that was producing art and antique fairs. So you're just around it all the time, and then my mom loved it too, and she would take me around the city to see, find artist studio lofts and museums and things like that. And it's just always been there. Mm-hmm.
That's the great exposure.
Yep.
Well, I want to thank you, Leanne Stella, for being on the show and talking to us about, of course, the real estate report and the Percent for Art real estate team that you are part of and that you initiated, and the really, really great work that you're doing. And I hope that we can do another podcast before the March initiative with investing in arts investing for artists. So thank you again for being on the show, and look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you so much, Danny. I really enjoyed being on here with you.
All right. I'll send you more information about what's happening, listeners and readers. And thanks again, Leanne, and have a great rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.
Meet Davis.
Hi.
Davis is from Pollock, South Dakota.
Yep.
We took Davis from Pollock to fish for Pollock in Alaska.
Sure did.
The same wild-caught pollock in a McDonald's Filet-O-Fish sandwich.
Uh-huh.
There were boats, nets, waves.
And fish.
And some delicious Filet-O-Fish sandwiches. So you could say Davis is one paw-lucky guy.
Good one.
Thanks, Davis.
Catch some pollock of your own with McDonald's Filet-O-Fish Fridays. Just $1.99 for a limited time. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or any combo meal.
The New York Times, Rolling Stone, and critics everywhere are all raving about Annihilation.
It's not destroying, it's making something new.
It's a mind-blowing experience, and now it's certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Annihilation, rated R, now playing.